It's Jim White and Simon Jordan. We are live this Monday lunchtime on talkSPORT. Also live, of course, you don't need me to tell you. You can find us anywhere you look, really. As far as a TV show is concerned, we're even live on Prime Video. So wherever you want to watch a show on YouTube, whatever, you can watch us live between 10 and 1. I watched live Brentford take on Nottingham Forest yesterday over at Brentford. It was a great gathering of two great sets of supporters, and there was only one winner, and it wasn't Brentford. The home side lost by 2-0. Nottingham Forest looked really, really good, and they came out on top. But where's it going to take them? Because West Ham won as well, and Forest have got a job in their hands to break free of that danger zone. Post-match, I caught up with a great legend of the game, a legend of Nottingham Forest, John McGovern, and he reflected briefly on that win.
Well, I think we controlled the match at times for the away team, played with that little bit of confidence and scored 2 good goals. So it's a total team contribution, and the side can be really pleased with the 90 minutes work they put in today.
Does it make you feel extra good, John, in that they won, Forest, but they had to really, with West Ham winning yesterday?
Well, yeah, I mean, the position is that we're nearer the bottom than the top of the league, so we need to get results, and the quicker you get them, the better it is. But it's the way the team performed today that was quite pleasing, because we kept the ball well at times, but we defended to a man. And away from home, you always come under a lot of pressure from the home side, and that defending as a man certainly paid off.
Is Europe taking its toll, John? It didn't look it.
Well, no, I don't think so. I mean, each game's different, and you're not quite sure, how games are going to either start off or end up. You're away from home, you're going to come under a bit of pressure, but as I said, we played as a unit today. There was nobody missing, everybody's contributing, and if that's the case and you've got the ability that we've got, you are going to get results.
Does this give you hope that Nottingham Forest will get out of trouble and will be clear of the danger zone come the important time at the end of the season?
Well, obviously, I mean, we've struggled to score goals at times, even though we've had more of the play than the opposition, but this is one of those days where we know we did control the game at times, looked very good defensively, and then the 2 goals were absolutely superb goals.
What about the transfer market? The clock's ticking. You know that phrase, Mr. McGovern.
Well, you're hoping that the club will bring in somebody that will be better than they've got, and that's an absolute necessity. We have been short of strikers, but let's just hope we sign someone and they're the right one and they blend with everybody else.
Sam, it's interesting, the Nottingham Forest journey. Last season, Forest were in a deep race for Champions League football, but then a messy season ensued. Nuno sacking, it's seen them in a relegation race. Now you bear in mind 3 years ago, Marinakis wrote in an open letter to Forest fans, "Our vision for the club is clear and unwavering. We're on a path to re-establish Forest as a dominant force in English football." What are Nottingham Forest to you? Where are they going?
Well, I mean, last year they did remarkably well, and obviously Marinakis was looking very good for the claims that he made 2 or 3 years earlier, and he brought in Ange Postecoglou to help him achieve that. So perhaps when a European competition, felt they had a chance to do it. Obviously they got in there on the back of Crystal Palace's demise, and it hasn't played out that way. It's turned into a messy set of affairs where you've got a sort of season that they've stepped back, they've gone 1 step forward and 2 step back.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't heard a lot from Marinakis recently. I mean, normally he's quite in the forefront of things. He's brought in
there yesterday. I thought he might be.
He's brought in Sean Dyche. That probably in his mind's eye wouldn't have been the appointment that you would envisaged that Nottingham Forest would have been moving towards as they were looking to aspire to greater things, because Sean's in there to fix problems. But fixing problems is what they've got. So I don't think it decries or detracts from the other desires that he has. He has the same challenges as everybody else has, which is anybody that doesn't have the pre-established turnover that the legacy football clubs have got is going to find it difficult to comply with PSR and then to push forward to try and achieve the things that the owners have the financial means to potentially deliver.
Yeah.
But the governance of the game doesn't allow them to. I mean, Nottingham Forest, have snatched defeat from the jaws of victory this season. This was meant to be a season where they kicked on. I thought last year they were operating at such a level that it was unsustainable. You weren't going to get another season out of Chris Wood, irrespective of whether he was injured or not, the way he played last year. The performance of the side, they were operating at the highest levels, game in, game in, game in, game in.
Yeah.
And it was difficult to see how they'd sustain that. Now, of course, going to the central theme of the question, which is where do they sit in English football? Well, they sit amongst the myths of English football, not so much the myths, but the history and legacy and iconography of English football, because the team that Brian Clough produced in the late 70s that came out of the Championship, won the first division, or the League One or Division 2 as it was then, won Division 1 instantaneously, then went on to win the European Cup 2 years in a row, as well as winning the League Cups and giving the established order all kinds of mayhem and headaches. And they're back in the Premier League. Do I think they get relegated this year? No, I don't think they will.
You don't think they will?
I think they'll stay up. I think there's enough quality. The difficulty for them is that, certain players have been injured for them, that haven't performed at the level they would have anticipated. They've been fortunate they managed to acquire Elliot Anderson, who's a very good player from Newcastle, who were forced to sell him, which is something that Eddie Howe spoke of in other interviews, which he really resented, the idea that they sell a very talented academy player, because it created a financial outcome that gave them headroom to do other things. But Forest are a side that I think will stay in the Premier League this year, but I don't think they're going to set anything alight.
It'll be interesting if
in Europe,
if it's Nuno now at West Ham who ultimately sends Forest down. But we'll see a fair amount of
quite like to, don't
twists and turns to go. Yeah, it would be quite an irony, wouldn't it? We saw Newcastle lose at home to Aston Villa. It was called the PSR Derby. And of course, the questions being asked these days by many is football won on the pitch or on the spreadsheet. Going into this game, Eddie Howe seemed to be at pains to want to challenge the perception that PSR might stop Newcastle breaking the elite.
The money leagues, that I was interested to see them yesterday, and I thought they made interesting reading for us, because it shows we've got a long way to go in terms of revenue, and I know people are bored of us discussing it and talking about it, but it's factual, and building our revenues will be so important, and I know there's a lot of work behind the scenes to try and do that. I've always had the belief that you've got to try and, whatever situation you have, you've got to try and outperform your resources. You've got to try and overachieve. You've got to stretch every ounce of effort and energy out of the squad that you have. So we believe that we can still achieve great things regardless of what financial restrictions there are on us, and we will try to achieve the highest possible that we can. So I'm reluctant to say whatever that will be, but we will go for the maximum.
I think Eddie's got to say that, Simon, hasn't he?
That really kind of means nothing, doesn't it? Because you can't be saying that we're going to achieve great things and then you're reluctant to tell anyone what they are. Because that to me is a little bit Eddie tap dancing around the reality of the circumstances he finds himself in, which is he's important to be committed. They're not paupers.
No.
But the people they're competing against are Liverpool, Arsenal, Manchester United, Manchester City, Chelsea, and whoever else we want to put in that list that's got £500-600 million turnovers. Newcastle's turnover, I would wager you, is something like 300 million.
Have they got headroom to do some business?
Well, they probably got headroom to do business. But the fact is that if you've got a wage bill, I mean, the analysis of, in the end of the day, if you don't buy well, you don't buy well. But assuming that good clubs more often than not buy well, in order for Newcastle to emulate the clubs that we're talking about, they need to be able to match them with either expertise off the field or a combination of expertise off the field and the ability to be able to match them pound for pound. Newcastle cannot spend £250 million every transfer window. The other clubs seem to be able to. And the way they're going to create something is either a long plan that's going to take 10 years to get them close to the kind of opportunities that may be already existing for the other clubs, and that's assuming those clubs stand still. So if they keep on moving forward, Newcastle's run rate for the next 10 years will still be markedly behind the achievements financially of other football clubs, which you don't win football matches in finance terms, but you do in the longer game because you can buy the better players. What they've got to perhaps do, Newcastle, is build a new stadium and give themselves opportunities there to start creating commercial revenue streams. But for Eddie to put forward a positive proposal that we have to do the very best we can is a bit like stating the bleeding obvious, isn't it? Because what was the alternative? Do the very worst you can.
Well, true. Newcastle are 17th in the Money League. Aston Villa, curiously, 14th in the Money League.
As revenues?
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, is it 300 million in turnover, something of that nature, I suspect?
No, you're spot on. 398 million euros.
300,
You're virtually spot on with it.
340 million pounds.
Villa's 450 million euros. Euros, Simon.
Yeah.
We're talking Emmanuel Petit currency this lunchtime. It is 12:30 this Monday lunchtime. We're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.